What makes a perfect album? This has sparked debate over years of what album is perfect, what album's a masterpiece. But I think most people agree is on this album, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy by Kanye West. Easily one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time, and personally my favorite hip hop album of all time. But what is the reason of loving this album so much? What is the reason everybody loves it so much? Well, I mean, it's pretty simple, really. Incredible production, incredible writing, and just incredible creativity from Mr. West. I mean, we started out with Dark Fantasy, which is just an incredible intro track, and probably my favorite intro track of all his albums. It just sets the tone right away of what you're going to get. This is not like any album he's made before. He basically took everything he had done before and amplified it by 10. He took the instrumentals and vibe of 808's Heartbreak. He took the writing from his first 3 trilogy albums, College Dropout and Late Registration and Graduation. But for My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, he kind of just gave everything he had, all the passion and love he had for music, into one thing. I mean, pretty much every song on here is just wonderfully crafted, wonderfully made, and just beyond anything, Kanye is never going to top this album. I mean, since this album, he's tried to make something equally as amazing, but even Life of Pablo, and even Kids See Ghosts, they just don't come close to this. I mean, the Kids See Ghosts got a little close, but to be fair, that's Kid Cudi and Kanye, so I don't know if that counts, but I mean, Kanye really outdid himself when he made My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. From Power to Gorgeous to all the lights with Rihanna and Kid Cudi to Monster with Jay-Z, Nas and Jay-Z, Nicki and all them. I mean, really, you really can't just have any gripes. I don't even know if it's possible to critique this thing, because how could you even find flaws in it? I don't think it's plausible. I mean, it isn't just one of the best hip-hop albums of all time. It's one of the best albums of all time. I mean, even people that don't like hip-hop albums, I think you can agree. This album's amazing. I don't even know how you can't say it ain't. For real. It's just that freaking amazing. But, I mean, all the way to the end of I'm Lost in the World and the outro. I mean, you're just immersed in it. You can't just play one song. I feel you have to play from beginning to end. I don't feel it's... I mean, I can play Runaway and Power and those by themselves, but really, it just doesn't feel right. I really have to play the whole thing beginning to end. The only song I actually don't really like, is Devil in a New Dress. But that's just because it's the song before Runaway. And even that song is pretty incredible. Rick Ross has a great verse on it. Kanye is really good singing on it. And it honestly just really great. And even the weak song on here isn't that bad, honestly. But that's all I really got to say. I mean, what else can be said? I'm just going to let Mark take the rest of the show here and explain his part. But, I mean, without a doubt, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is a 10 out of 10. I mean, come on. It is clearly a masterpiece. Anybody who doesn't think that is silly, honestly. But, anyway, guys, TheTatermeister. Thank you all for watching Mark's video. Go subscribe to my channel. And, TheTatermeister signing out. Take the show, Mark.
We made it. We've made it to the masterwork itself. We have been building up to this moment, this entire series. Today, this album turns 10 years old. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, one of my favorite albums ever. I am so excited to talk about this album. There is a club. I actually might get, I'm getting to this later. But My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy was probably one of the most anticipated albums of its time. In 2010, this was so hyped up. It was like the big moment for Kanye, his return to hip-hop after 808's barely a hip-hop album. Kind of weird that we all consider it hip-hop. But it was his return to hip-hop, and along with that, it was kind of his magnum opus. It was meant to be this grand, big moment for him. Every track on this album exceeds 4 minutes. Most of them, I think, exceed 4.5 minutes, almost 5 minutes long. These tracks are long, and it's a really short track list too, like 11 songs. But how do I describe this other than, this is the greatest middle moment in hip-hop history. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy marks that middle point for Kanye, his transition. Because you listen to everything after this album, it sounds nothing like before this album. He did a 380, like 380. I just said he did a 380. He did a 180. Damn it. He reset his career, and he went a complete new direction. This is the greatest reset for a hip-hop artist ever. And while it is a little divide, actually, most people agree this is great. We all just hate Fantano for his opinion. I respect Anthony Fantano, by the way. You would not be watching me without him, but his opinion on that album, I don't even think makes sense. I don't actually understand it. I don't actually understand his review of My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. I watched the video and I'm like, what are you talking about, man? I respect other people's opinions, but what the hell? That's such a dumb review, honestly. I'm going to get right into this track list because I've been wanting to review this album for so long. Dark Fantasy is one of the greatest hip-hop openings in ever. This is the best possible way to open up this style of album with this really grand, larger-than-life track with great vocals from... Who is it? It doesn't say who's featured on the Wikipedia. What's her name? Whatever, there's a girl who's featured on this. Oh, I feel bad now. And now I remember that No ID produced this track. Point is, though, actually Kanye and No ID. And I'm just going to keep going. Point is, though, that this is the greatest opening you could for an album. It's so big, larger than life, and it feels like just this, ready for this album. Here's this kind of pretty uplifting track that has a really nice beat switch to it. The hook has just piano over it, choir singing. And then when you get to the actual verses, the beat gets a lot darker, a little bit different. Then when you get back to the hook, it becomes a little bit lighter. It works really well. There's a great contrast there. And it transitions well into the far slower, but in my opinion, better Gorgeous. Gorgeous is one of my favorite tracks on this album. I think this is a incredibly overlooked track. Gorgeous to me is like, it's such a nice second track. I really love the guitar on this. The guitar, man. This guitar is like perfect. It sounds so nice. The way he's able to just handle it all, I really love it. I think Cuddy's hook is great. Actually, Cuddy's hook, you know what? Fuck it. This is my favorite Cuddy performance ever. Okay, maybe the hook on Pursuit of Happiness is better, but no. The hook on this is Ain't No Question If I Want I Need is just, God, it's so perfect. Raekwon's verse is great. I've heard some people criticize the fact that he makes the production on his voice sound really weird. I like it, though. I think it makes there a little bit more of a grimy, darker sound to this track. This track isn't meant to be nearly as grand, larger-than-life as Dark Fantasy is. It's meant to be a lot more down. This is probably top 15 Kanye songs ever. I'm not even joking. I fucking love this song. I think it's amazing, and I think it's really overlooked. Power is the big single. It's great to me. I think this is the first Kanye song I ever heard. It's really larger than life. It's really amazing to me. I think he has this is kind of, okay, I'll get to Yeezus later. I'll get to that in the next video. But this is kind of him perfecting the sound of Yeezus. Because Yeezus has that same style of him just being super braggadocious with these larger-than-life instrumentals. But this is way better. Because this is just larger than life as hell, and I love it. It's just his moment to just let out all of his ego and just claim, I'm the king of hip-hop. Is it true? Not really. But it's real. Okay, he's up there. Okay, Kanye's top 3 for me. Probably even top 2. But Power is just this larger-than-life great song where he has one of my favorite Kanye... Actually, he has so many great lyrics on this track. So many quotable lines like they say I was the abomination of Obama's nation. Well, that's a pretty bad way to start off a conversation. Great rhyming and just a funny lyric. He just lets it all out in the song, and I love it for that. It's a great single, too. All the Lights interlude. I think if I analyze... By the way, let me just say this. There is a deeper theme to this album that I won't get to in this review, because I just haven't gone through the effort to analyze it. I will, though. I might review it one day, or I might do like an interpretation of this album, but for now I'm like, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like going through that effort again. All the light, because I worked so hard on the Tip of a Butterfly series for nothing. Like, nobody watched it. Point is, though, is that All the Lights is a pretty good interlude, transitioning to All of the Lights, which to me is one of the best production tracks on this album. I want to read the producers on this track overall. There's not as many as I thought there was. I remember somebody telling me that there's a big production interlude. Point is, though, is that actually it's just Kanye and Basker. Weird. Point is, though, is just this is a big production grandness to it. There's so much to this track, along with Great Rihanna performance, so she's not listed on the features for some reason. Great Rihanna performance. Great, like, Cudi performance. Yeah, he's in it for a minute. It's a great track. It's really big. It's really large in life. I hate the music video. I don't like the music video because I think Kanye having the glasses on, for some reason, that video just reminds me so much of like Graduation era, and it takes away from what this album's solo is meant to be. It's a great track though. It's really uplifting, really big, really good party track. It's probably the poppiest track on the song. Maybe that's just because Rihanna's on it, but I like it overall. Monster though. Monster. This is one of my favorite hip hop songs ever. In the history of hip hop, this is one of my all-time favorites. Monster is one of my favorite collab tracks ever, because I think every single person on this track does something different and they kill it. First of all, Bon Iver's whole part on this, I love. I love how Bon Iver's used on this. And let's first talk about Kanye's verse. Incredible. He is so just like vicious and like egotistical on it, and I love it. I love when Kanye does his ego side, unless it's over. Because there's points on Yeezus where he does that ego and it just pisses me off. But like he does it on this and he does it great. And then we get into Jay-Z's verse, which is often criticized, but I quite like this verse. Because I think Jay-Z never did anything like this. He's doing this like really aggressive, vicious sound because it's Monster. By the way, the hook. The hook is perfect. I love the beat, so I should have mentioned the beat. The beat is amazing to me, and so is the hook. It's so well done. This is one of the meanest, darkest songs of this album, and it really adds to the dark side of this album. But Jay-Z's verse is just great. Also, Rick Ross is like 10 seconds. They're short, they're brief. They are not as good as his Devil in a New Dress performance, but they're nice to hear. Jay-Z's great, but let's talk about Nicki Minaj. Also, what I mean by that is let's talk about the greatest hip-hop guest verse ever. I'm going out there. I think Eminem's Renegade's great. Great performance. But no other artist has peaked such high, but to go to such lows. I don't hate Nicki Minaj as much as some people do. I think she's a fine artist. I think she's had a lot of really great tracks over the years. I think she has a lot of really great performances. This is just, like, incredible, though, because she out-rapped. She did better than Jay-Z and Kanye. And I don't just mean in the sense that, oh, for what she is, she did better. No. If I were to analyze every single verse on this, her verse is the most lyrical, performance-wise, energy-wise. It's easily the best. She out-rapped two of my favorite rappers. Nicki is not even close to one of my favorites, and she destroyed both of them. This verse is perfect. She goes from these really soft, high-pitched voices to this, like, loud monster voice. It is so good. Low. Like, she just moves her voice up and down so quickly, so fast. If this verse was done in one cut, like, if she recorded this all in one cut, brilliant. I need to research that because this is a brilliant performance. And she just murdered everyone else. Also, Bon Iver's, the performance at the end of that was great. The band did great with that. They added to a great track to make 6 minutes of perfection. I love this song and everything it did. So Appalled is also amazing. It's another one of my favorite collab tracks ever. We talk about everybody on this. Swizz Beatz, I'm pretty sure is production on this, so I won't really count them, but they're great. Jay-Z, Pusha T, Sci-Hi the Prince, and RZA, all kill it. They all bring out the best of them. Because Kanye knows how to make a big collab track without anybody getting buried. This just doesn't end up being like the Friday Night Cypher from Big Sean, where, yeah, there's a lot of cool verses on there, but they're all just kind of buried by each other, and then giving Eminem the big point at the end, and Royce and M the big performances at the end. They just bury everybody. But So Appalled is successfully able to give everybody a shining light. Jay-Z, I think Jay-Z's verse on this might be better than his verse on Monster, but I like Monster more as a track. Pusha's verse is incredible. He kills it. It's not his best verse on the album, but he kills it. Sci-Hi's great too, and RZA are good. They're not as standard as Jay-Z and Push, but they do great. Kanye does great as well. This is probably one of the biggest tracks of the album, one of the grandest tracks of the album, and I quite love it overall. And it's a really catchy track, and it kind of gives you goosebumps, honestly. Devil in a New Dress is top 3 for this album for me. I think this track is amazing. It's probably the most glamorous, most, like, pretty song, even though thematically it's probably one of the darkest songs about a woman. Basically, I want to make the connection that he's talking about a woman who's actually the devil. I don't know. Somebody tell me how the song's themes are, because I've never really gone through the effort to analyze Devil in a New Dress. All I know is I love it. Rick Ross gives the performance of his life on this. It's incredible. But Kanye really creates a great track where he's able to flex out most of his personality. It's one of the most Kanye tracks on this album. It's not the most, but it's one of. It's a really great track in my opinion, and I think he handled this the best way he could. It's probably top 3 for this album. I think it's honestly an amazing track, and it does not get boring across it. I could find this track getting annoying though if I listened to it too much, just because of the vocals in the back. Runaway. Runaway, I've wanted to talk about for a while, because Runaway is not only one of my favorite Kanye songs. Not only is it, this is my favorite Kanye song. Not only is it my favorite Kanye song, it's like my third. There is only 2 rap songs in the history of hip hop I think are better than this. Changes by Tupac and Lose Yourself by Eminem. This is brilliant. This is my favorite song of the decade. In the words of Markiplier, maybe I should insert the meme if I would do that. You know his, this is my favorite thing. Forever. In the history of forever. I think about this every single day. You know that clip? That's how I describe the song. Runaway is just perfect to me. 9 minutes long. Not a second is boring. I don't think I've ever listened to this track. I mean, obviously, probably sometimes I have. But I rarely listen to just like 6 minutes. I listen to the whole 9 minutes every time. Beat. Perfect. I don't know how to describe this beat. It is just so perfect. The piano at the beginning, the way it starts with just 20 seconds of just the same note played is brilliant. Pusha T's part on this is brilliant because it is the most just nasty verse. And that's the point. He sounds so braggadocious, so just nasty on this, and it works. This is my favorite Pusha T performance ever. It's my favorite. Story of Adidon is great too, but come on. I need to listen to more Pusha T. But then Kanye's part is just amazing. His hook is so beautiful. His verses are so emotional to me. This is such a confession song. It's easily the biggest song on this album. And then you get to the final 4 minutes, which is dedicated to the instrumental, played over just vocals and violins. And I don't know how much I can say it. It is brilliant. This is one of the best beats in hip hop to loop for that long. Going for 9 minutes and making it all the time interesting is great. There are other 9-minute tracks that I think are great. Longer than that, Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst, one of my favorite hip hop tracks ever. Dance with the Devil, one of my favorite hip hop tracks ever. But all those have beat switches. Dance with the Devil is only 6 minutes until the final 3 minutes are completely different beat, completely different sound. Sing About Me, I'm Dying of Thirst is 12 minutes, but 7 minutes in the beat switches. However, I could have gone for that beat going for 12 minutes. It wouldn't have got boring to me. But this track goes for 9 minutes. Not a beat switch. No beat switch. It stays the same the entire time. And I cannot tell you how perfect this song is. I would not change a thing about Runaway. Not change a thing. In fact, if somebody was like, change one thing about maybe this entire album, I would just sit there and be like, I don't know. Nothing. I don't have anything to change. Especially Runaway. Hell of a Life is my least favorite track on this album, but it's not bad. In fact, I still love this song. Hell of a Life to me is the dirtiest song on this album. It's the most ravaging, vicious song on this album. I think it's kind of let's look at this in a way. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Beautiful. Tracks I think Beautiful would be a way to describe tracks like Runaway. Kind of a beautiful song if you think about it. Devil in a New Dress in its own way. Those are beautiful tracks. And Lost in the World. Twisted tracks. Monster. And this one, Hell of a Life. Dark tracks. I'm trying to look up I think So Appalled maybe falls more into dark. And maybe Dark Fantasy falls into dark. Dark Fantasy doesn't fall in any category. Blame Game, that falls in dark. And then Fantasy is just the end of it all. Just this fantasy. This album is all his imagination, kind of. I don't really know. I'm figuring this out as I go. Hell of a Life, though, to me is a really catchy song. I don't love the beat, but I like it quite a lot. Actually, I love this beat. I think it's great. I think it's a reflection of what's to come. It sounds very Yeezus. It sounds like what Yeezus is. If this was on Yeezus, it would probably be my second or third favorite track. Because I think Black Skinhead and Blood on the Leaves are incredible tracks. But Hell of a Life is a great track. I think this is the worst, but I still love it. Blame Game is also lower on that for me, but it's probably just because I don't listen to it often. I still love it. John Legend's part is really beautiful. There was a really nice hook with the piano beat being really nice. The last couple minutes of this are just funny. Like Chris Rock talking, so Kanye starts by saying, I heard the whole phone call, and then it's he heard this call of like Chris Rock telling this woman that this is the best sex ever, and he's like, "Who taught you that?" And he's like, "Yeezy taught me." It's funny. Yeezy taught me is a really quotable line now because of this track. I like it also as much as I like a broken relationship track. In fact, this is probably better than almost every broken relationship Eminem track. Honestly, it probably is. Just saying. Lost in the World is a great closing track. It's not the finish of this album, but it's a great way to end this album with a big epic moment with Bon Iver, because Bon Iver is great at making things big and epic. It's a really great conclusion. I think a lot of people consider it one of the best. I've never felt it's one of the best, but I do quite love it. Who Will Survive in America is also a really great final track, kind of bringing in the whole racism side of this album, and it adds to that side that's expressed on tracks like Gorgeous, and I think it's also expressed on like Monster, I think, or no, not Monster, So Appalled. Who Will Survive in America is just the perfect closing. This album is perfect, though. I'm not changing a thing. If I could change a thing, I wouldn't. There are a club of albums. I call this the A+ club. It's very rare. There's 13 albums. I will go through them one day, but right now I've covered one. I have covered Good Kid, Mad City. You're at the second now, though. My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is perfect to me. And it's the best Kanye album, without question. I think Late Registration is amazing, but I think this is way better. It's perfect. The beats are amazing in every sense. The performances are all great. In terms of a collab album, I think he delivered on every level. I don't even understand how this album can be 6 out of 10. It's great. It's perfect to me. I wouldn't change a thing. It's a really emotional album. It's really personal to me as well, just being every track kind of means something. Like, at least in every track, in a way, has kind of hit me in a spot. And this is probably one of my favorite track lists ever. 11 tracks, and all of them are amazing, and I wouldn't really change a thing about any of them. Overall, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy is an A+. There's no doubt about it. It's perfect. There's not a thing I change. What do you guys think on this perfect album? Let me know in the comment section below. Do not forget to subscribe. See you guys next time. Bye.